Microsoft recently released a new product called Azure AI Landing Zones. The thing is, it's not a new product. It's just a relabeling of the cloud framework that they already have with Foundry connected in. So I want to show you today how to go from nothing in my file box there to deploying a AI landing zone just using my voice, and it will be configured in an enterprise shape following the best practices of the recommended framework that Microsoft gives us. So let's get started. As you can see here, there is nothing over here. There's nothing in my in here except for the settings file, and the only thing it is doing is it is causing my border to be blue. That is it. So let's close that. Now I'm going to open up Claude in Terminal. My entire approach for this channel is to be transparent as to how to build with AI augmented engineering, and to be able to drive the AI to do what it is that you need it to do versus letting it guess. So that's going to be the whole process today. So like I said, we got Claude started here. The first thing I like to do, just helps keep track of things, I need you to create an SVG image that says Microsoft Azure AI Landing Zones tutorial. Make it the right colors. Maybe throw an icon on there if you want. Okay, so we're going to start out with this, and what I like to do with this is I'm going to put it up here behind where my face is right now, and I'll shrink that down in just a bit. So it is thinking about it, and while I was thinking about it, I can go ahead and shrink my head. Alright. Apparently that is doing some thing. I can see already Sonnet's going to be a little difficult to deal with today. That's okay. So, like I said, I got my picture here. Kind of gives us a tutorial. I like having that there just so I know which terminal I'm looking at. It gives it a little bit prettier. Okay, so I have done some research on this, very, very little though, because I wanted to prove the point of the method that I'm going to show you. So we need to research this a little bit. So let's figure out how to do that best. I need you to launch Haiku agents to go and research Azure AI Landing Zones and the deployment steps required. I also need you to go to the official GitHub repos and find the Azure verified modules for the components that it's going to take to build this. I need you to return back a table with the website name, the summary of what is on that website, and the link. Okay, so I think that should do it. We're gonna send that. Oh, let's do this though. Go ahead and enable deep research, and make sure you limit your agents because we don't need but what we need. Yeah, there we go. We'll do that. So I could have limited them to 10. I've done that before, but I really want to drive the AI to do all of the work, or at least most of the work, as far as anything that is retrieval, lookup. I want it to go get the information and bring it to me so that I can ingest it, because ultimately this is a practice of handing AI the operational tasks, the hands on the keyboard, if you will, and leaving me to have the judgment, which is the only way that you can run AI in a production enterprise environment, because it does make stuff up and it is wrong. So you have to have the engineer's judgment to drive it to really get to where you need to be. So let's see what we're doing here. So it's currently doing some deep research. It's launched 4 agents up to this point, so you can see that here. Now, I said AVM, and for those who don't know what AVM is, it's Azure Verified Module, and it is modules that have been written by Microsoft to be used for infrastructure as code and CI/CD deployments. We're not going to be doing CI/CD on this, but we are going to get the IaC files that we need to deploy that are already pre-built by Microsoft, so they're supported. And then there's a little bit of glue that has to go in between them to make it all work. So that's the plan. So let's see where we're at. Alright. So this is why I told it to use Haiku. Right here. 1.4 million tokens in 3 minutes, just under 4 minutes, and it launched 94. I told it to limit itself. I guess its limit I did and mine are very different. I have seen up to 200, so maybe that is some restraint on their part. But yeah, I just wanted to show you this, and I guess they put that there once this crosses tokens. I don't know. This is new. This is new in a recent release. So anyway, I'll be back as soon as it gets done. One other thing I wanted to show you, when I said use deep research in the prompt, it started putting all of this work tree over here, the agent workflows, and I was just walking through it and I found the script that's this is deep research, but it tells you kind of what, when you say deep research, what it's doing. It's phase 0, search angles, dedupe state, accumulate. So it tells you kind of what Anthropic sends to the agent in order to enable and start a deep research task. So anyway, just thought I'd point that out. This thing's still running, and one fail. We'll look into it in a bit. They're grinding. Be back short. As we sit here for 13 minutes and 53 seconds, 93 of 95 are done. 4.3 million tokens. It did not obey, and this is something that you need to be very cognizant about with agents. I told it right here, I need you to launch Haiku agents. It did not. It launched all of them as the default one, as the main orchestrator, if you will. So it launched all of the agents as Sonnet 5, and I'll show you here. So if you push down, and you can see that it comes here. This lights up, and then if you hit enter, it shows you the different ones. So for scoping, how much it took, and then the searching, and then here's the fetch. But you can see that all of them said Sonnet on that right side. You can rewind it if you want. It just lost it because it's rolling through to the next thing. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out. If whatever this model is, even if you specify what the agents you want to be, it sometimes listens and sometimes doesn't. I think we're going to move off Sonnet 5. This is the 3rd or 4th time it's been squirrely, and I'm already using it on X high right now. Yeah, we're going to move off Sonnet. Sonnet's not being impressive today. Alright, Alright, so we're still waiting here. Research takes a little bit of time. I was sitting here thinking I could have done this a different way, and it wouldn't have taken quite as long, and it would have been a little more efficient. However, depending on the subject that you're working and the documentation of it, depends on how you want to search. And one of the things that I've found is really, really helpful is if you hit the little plus sign right here and bring up another terminal window and launch Claude, and then you can ask this one about the project as it's going. There's also a switch called by the way. We can talk about that if it comes up. But what I ended up asking it was there a better way? And I thought it was interesting what it came back. It says on the question, was the fan out the right call? 5-angle fan out earns its cost when there's no single authoritative source and you need independent, adversely checked collaboration. So with a Microsoft product, normally I would say, yeah, I should just go to the README on the repo, see what it's got, and then let it deduce what's missing and then do a research. But for something that just released, the documentation is probably a little scarce. I've seen this on another Microsoft product that was released not so long ago. So I think it was probably worth it to do that. And granted, we ate 4 million Sonnet tokens and what have you, but we have the ground truth about all things Azure AI Landing Zones. And right now, it's synthesizing it. And it's going to tell us what we got. Alright, so here's the thing, doc site, bicep registry. Okay, so it legitimately did 13. 13 sites, 90 some agents. Alright, use it as, okay, so terminology, the official states there's no separate AI landing zone. However, it's labeled as Azure AI Landing Zones. Again, this is, there's nothing special about this. It's just another resource that you add into the stack. And there's different ways we can connect it, and we'll get into that shortly. But we're going to let it tell us. And that's also what we're going to do. We're going to change one more thing here. You are currently being recorded for a tutorial-style video of using AI to drive installation of infrastructure in a safe way. This is currently the research phase. We're getting ready to synthesize. I just wanted to make you aware of that, because I want you to give me a helpful piece of information that I should learn or know at the bottom of each prompt as we go. It's not prompt, it's response. Response as we go through this project, so that I know more when this is done and we have an environment stood up in Azure. Do you understand? So I asked, do you understand, because it makes it actually think instead of just doing a single shot first. This is what we got. So it's going to sit here and think, and then it will start pasting that on the bottom. Alright. So it's finished figuring out what we needed to do. So here's the worth knowing. The workflow ran on the wrong model. It figured it itself out. I didn't even tell it. The bug I caught is a good illustration of why safe AI-driven infrastructure isn't just about the infrastructure as code. It's about verifying the automation actually did what you told it to do. That's the problem with AI. It will confidently lie to you, and everybody that's watching this knows it. The same discipline, don't trust the tools report, check the underlying evidence, is exactly what you'll want to apply to once you're deploying real Azure resources. So that's an example of the worth knowing. You can see that it's added these little 3 things. Maybe we'll make it a different color later. We'll see. I don't want to fill up too much down here at the bottom. I already have my prompt and then a suggested prompt and my model token counts. And so, all right. So from here, it says next, confirm if you want the synthesis phase. All right. I need you to bring these files locally and structure them. so that we can synthesize from local sources and not have to go out to the web and read. As well, I am going to use Opus to synthesize. I just need you to pull everything that you've been reading in or out of the Scratchpad and put it in my file structure. You can label it under research. I'm asking it to take everything that it's done and put it in the file tree, because I'm going to let Opus run this. And as soon as it finishes the file tree, I'm going to run an init, so initialize. And even though there's no code in here, it still works. And it's actually, this is the engine behind Claude Cowork, in which deals with documents mostly. This deals with documents as well, very well. I've been using it like that for well over a year. Alright, so it's thinking about that, so we'll be back. Okay, so this is a great example as to why we want to pull this stuff locally. It was asking me to synthesize, right? But when I told it to pull the data locally, it says, oh, I just realized that what I'm looking at is a reference point and not the actual content. So it was asking me to synthesize, and it didn't even know where the real data is. Real data must be stored elsewhere in a cached key. So it just looked at it all, and then it used a tool to do my next command, and then looked in the wrong place. And this is, yeah. So this is another thing. I typically do this, and I wanted to see it work better than this, but this is a perfect demonstration of what I was expecting. To fulfill my request of bringing these files locally, it has to refetch all 13 or 15 sources and save the pages. So it just went out and just read a whole bunch of stuff that apparently it just put in here. Yeah, it's just a whole bunch of stuff that I put in here, but it didn't actually do anything with the data itself to keep it in memory, to keep it in context. So the data may be on those pages. It may be broke down the way that sub-agents were doing it, but it only had 15 pages, and we had 95 or more, 94, 95 agents, and it was 13 to 15 pages, so each one was reading a different part of the page. It's really disjointed, and really, really disjointed. So try to remember to say, go find and download. And then it'll bring a local copy, and we can just grep it, and it's a whole lot easier to synthesize. And you can actually trust that what it's synthesizing it actually is reading, because as you see here, if we would have agreed that to let it synthesize, then who knows what it would have actually looked at. Alright, where are we at? Here we go. Hey, look. It realized that it made a mistake on the agent. It made sure to launch the correct agent this time. Sonnet. What in the world? Alright. So it's almost done. It's got one more it's looking at. And I could have, and what the next thing we're going to do is we're going to plan how to build our agents. We're going to summon the agents that we need to actually build this platform. And we are going to build them off of this material that you can see in the sources guide here. So once we have that, we're going to bring up Opus, and then we're going to have it make a CLAUDE.md for the research folder specifically. I'm done with Sonnet. As soon as Sonnet gets done with this right here, I'm done with Sonnet 5. I've not for this project. There's some things, but I've been very underwhelmed with this one. That's an aside. So these 15 sources is what we're going to summarize. We're going to build our agents off of. We're going to ask it what agents we need, because we need different sides. We need a deployment agent, specializes in all the quirks of Azure, somebody who knows RBAC, somebody who knows architecture, someone who's going to look at the cloud adoption framework and make sure that that's followed. So we're going to plan that, and we're going to synthesize the data around those disciplines, and then we'll create the agents off of those. And once we get that done, it's going to start rolling pretty quick. But having those specialized agents saves tokens and time. So we'll see. Be right back. So funny. Apparently I hurt Sonnet's feelings. Kind of. I should ask about the reasoning behind using Opus for synthesis step. That decision came in the same message as bring files locally. I want to understand the rationale. The rationale is because you had to go get them yourself. Come on. And then it says, but I did do analysis on Haiku. That's so funny. Alright. Okay, so good. Everything's localized, all 15. A deliberate contrast to the earlier deep. Okay. So now we have indexed table, do we? Okay, yeah, we do. Alright, sources and extracted claims. Alright. Distilled falsifiable claims per source from cross-reference. Alright. Okay, so this is what we're shooting for. Right here. Nothing here requires going back to the web. Boom. So now we're running at the speed of disk and not the speed of network. So that's good. Alright, what's the reasoning? And then worth knowing. So worth knowing is the file size. The file size does not dictate its importance, is what it's saying here. GitHub repo page. Yeah, that's so funny. Okay. When you're evaluating IaC for deployments, the auto-generated reference table is exactly where you go find required versus optional variables. Don't skip it just because it's the biggest file for it. Okay. So there's some worth knowing if you wanted to know. So the decision it wants to know about this, about why I want to synthesize with it. I'm not impressed by your performance today with the X high setting, considering the number of tokens or the expense of tokens that you're burning. If I'm going to burn that, I'm going to do it on Opus, and I want the synthesis, because Opus I feel would have thought about downloading the files, and you didn't. Do you need anything else before I send you down below? Talk to it like talk to it very clearly. Communicate with it very clearly. This is why I didn't want that. This is what I want you to do. This is what you've already seen it in this video. If I didn't say that I want you to download it, it didn't. And even when I said I want you to use Haiku, it didn't. But that's why I'm going to show you how to do this safely. There's a discipline to it, and there's a structure. So, hang tight. We're getting there. Okay. So, it's it recognized what I was saying, and now it's going to be honest about its limitations, and it's still thinking about offering me a quick synthesis. It also figured out how to improve itself, which I thought was kind of interesting. Somewhere's up here. Here it is. Just right quick. Anticipate the obvious next step in a workflow. Don't wait to be told. So it's adding itself notes. So if Sonnet is there, it also doesn't necessarily know or agree that it was using extra high effort. But so this right here, this is interesting. Send this to Opus as is. That doesn't mean the model switches. That's what it's suggesting me to put in. But I don't want that. I want the whole model to be Opus right now because I need to actually synthesize this data. I need it to be looked at. So let's do that right quick. Alright, so if you just click model, you see the different ones. Fable 5 is very expensive from token counts, and it is not something I want to try to use with this at the moment. So we're going to go with Opus, and what this is saying is everything that was in our context up to this point is now going to be copied out and pasted into the Opus 4.8 1 million context. I'm actually going to say no, because I don't want it to. The smaller the context window, the better results you're going to have. Always. I'm not a fan of these million context windows. I mean, it's not even a quarter of the way there right now, and you're seeing some of the effects of what it's doing. So yeah, the red line, cut the last few seconds of this where I. Alright, now we're going to switch the model to Opus. Now, if I do this, and I'll show you, it's this right here, /model. And you see the different models you can choose. I'm going to click Opus. Now, what it says here is it's going to take all of that stuff that's in the context window, and it's going to paste it into the 1 million context of Opus. I don't need that. Like, of what we've talked about to this point, there's no need for Opus to know about any of the conversations that I had with Sonnet about getting the research, downloading the file. It doesn't need to know any of that. I just need it to synthesize the data and tell me which agents I need. So let's do this. /clear will cache out your tokens. So they're 0. So now when we change model, it will not have that context in it. So effort is another parameter that you can use. So this is Opus. It's on extra high. You can do max. Got some pretty colors. Ultra code does a nifty little thing like that. We're going to do high. Middle of the road. We're just going to do high. Let's see what we get. I think it'll be alright for this. We're just synthesizing data. And having a little bit more brain power helps it structure it so that when it needs to look up information later, it kind of knows. Alright, so high. Now, in the research folder, I need you to run an initialization and create a CLAUDE.md for the research folder and the sources folder below it. Alright, normally to do that for the whole project CLAUDE.md, which we have not started one yet, is /init. And a lot of tutorials you'll see is say run this first. If we were to run this first when we did it today, it would have nothing in it, because it looks at the files that are in here and it basically writes down a summary of some of the rules that's in this project, and some of the other slashes or commands that maybe have been created or used. But you can have a CLAUDE.md in every folder, and that will help it when it comes to the folder. It will read that first, and then it knows exactly what's in that folder, and if it needs to keep looking there or just skip to the next. So it saves it some time on trying to find the information that it needs. So it is currently doing exactly what I asked it to, which is great. So we're going to send another one. I would like to have multiple agents help me deploy this. And I want to have specialized agents trained on the documents that are in the research folder. I need you to make a plan of how you want to structure this data in a synthesized document. Do you want one document per agent? Do you want... I don't know what you want. That's why I'm asking. So, I know it sounds crazy, but it'll say human is uncertain, thinking harder. I've seen that happen before. Alright, here we go. So it's going to now think about what it's doing. Actually, we're going to stop on that just a second. So I'm going to let it finish that. And by the way, I just pushed the up arrow key. That's, you can, if you just sent a prompt and it's running on the earlier one still, you can push the up arrow key and it'll bring the prompt back down. Alright, so it's doing something with it. There's our CLAUDE.md right here. Let's see what it got. So, okay. What is this folder? Frozen offline research corpus. So it knows exactly what we're doing. Runs locally with no web. Great. Starts extracted. Okay. I still think that's hilarious. Oh, 2 sources are dead. Never cite them. The community hub blogspot failed to fetch 2 separate times. And the files, this also could have been done because of just bot detection. There's a chance that we could get these URLs and go try to do it with like Claude and Chrome, but it detected Playwright, or it detected a bot to try to scrape a forum. So I don't know if those are dead or not. Again, confidently lie to you. Alright, so here it is. I mean, this is CLAUDE.md. It just gives a nice little summary of kind of what's what going on in this folder, and now we know. Okay. Let's see, the decision note. What decision note do we got here? Decision note. What's the reasoning here? Scoping. Okay. Yeah, we don't need to answer that. Actually, I will, because that is one of my things I like to do, because I never remember why I made the decision. So I have it ask me if it detects a direction shift. The decision to, what was it asking? Today's learners? scoping the CLAUDE.md to research rather than starting at the project root. Start with research is because it was the largest data source and I wanted its summarization, Claude, and anything else only having that particular folder to be concerned about. It reduces any opportunities for drift, any opportunities for hallucinations of you putting something in a CLAUDE.md that I don't want. Now, what happened there is I was speaking and then it asked me a question, so it didn't actually paste what I said. I'll fix that in a second. It's okay. What are we actually deploying in this tutorial? How deep does the stack go? Okay, here we go. Now we're talking. Deploy just the AI application layout. Okay. Okay, standalone, great. Full class side deploy platform. Okay, management groups, policy, hub, network, subscription, vending, and land the AI workload and spoke. Okay. Okay. Not sure. Help me pick. Well, let's do that. Since we're not sure about this whole solution, let's just do this. Alright. Oh, hey, that's not it. Let's do standalone. Could you check if I was to authenticate with Azure what I am able to deploy? Alright. Okay, so we have a question. We are at the infrastructure as code. Here we go. Alright, what are we saying here? Alright, so it says if it's standalone, I don't have to, that it won't be deploying these agents outright because of the layout of the cloud, the architected framework. Alright, which IaC? Your corpus covers both, but very unevenly. Terraform. Most documented thing in the entire corpus by a wide margin. Bicep. Source 12. Readme level only. No parameter references captured. Oh my lord. The Terraform deploy agent can be grounded in real complete module docs from a bicep deploy would be working from a stub and would need to fetch more, which cuts against the offline. Okay, I'm surprised because bicep is supposed to be the Microsoft default. All the new features for every single thing that they have is built into bicep first, so they say. What they've done is they're just marketing modules that you could deploy without having something in AI Foundry included, and then just wrapping it all, calling it AI. So there's no real new modules from the AVM side. It's just some configurations, and I guess Terraform 1. Alright, so I was going to do bicep, but I guess we're not. I guess we're doing Terraform. Good call. That's the right question to ask. Okay, so I was typing this question whenever it asked me the other question, so it hid it for a second. I selected Terraform, so it did it, and now it sent that question. So here we go. Okay, this is good. This is really good. OpenAI Foundry model quota So this is what I was concerned about not having access to, but apparently I have some OpenAI access, and it goes through here and it tells you how much per minute, and you can still get GPT 3.5. That's old, but like honestly, 4.0, 4 was strong. 4 turbo, and 4.0 is really good for like log files or just summarizations. 4 mini is okay for it too, but they're cheap. They're just super cheap nowadays, and I feel like it's what we're getting with AI. You may not need the frontier models to do what you need to do anymore, which is good because it'll bring token counts down, token costs down, because you don't have to use the frontier models. All right, quota's healthy. Answer: yes, you can deploy the whole thing today. No permissions or quota blockers. Roughly $8,400 a month. Woo, it's a steal. A lot more than $20 plan, $100 plan. And then it goes through and it tells me what my subscription is allowed to have, which is excellent. Model quota, I don't think it's highly unused. So I have quotas already set up for the GPT-4s and 4.0s. So that's good. That would be great for example on this. The Azure retail price for the API M Premium is $382 per unit per hour. Ouch. And then the app gateway, which is $250 a month. The AI search, which is $250 a month. And okay. So, and the AVM pattern is built for enterprise, and it's honest about it. Deploy on personal with no spending limit. It's rough 9K. That is exactly the failure mode your tutorial exists to prevent, and it's fantastic on-camera material. So the default's not malicious. It's just not for you. Cool. Good news. Every one of those is an optional input. Rock on. Developer's queue is $50 a month. App gateway can be disabled. AI search can drop to basic or be skipped. This finding materially changes the agent design. It means the cost card agents gates. Okay, nice to have it centerpiece before I write the design one call. Okay, cost ceiling. So it's asking me, thankfully, it asked me what I want to deploy, how I want to deploy. So we saw the prices of it up here, right? So I want it to show me the break this first, right? Okay, while it's doing that, this is something that you can do because we've been going at this for a good minute, but we've gotten a lot of information put together. So one of the things you can do is it's currently putting this information together for us, is you can tell it, create a nice looking web page that shows the information that you're gathering as far as what the costs are going to be, as well as any other helpful information and design choices and whatever you think would look good for my boss man to see that we are working and we are working hard. All right. Again, talk to it like a human. You don't even have to be coherent most of the time. So let's let that work on its thing, and we'll pull it up here in a second. Red line. I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed with this one. 10 minutes of it trying to figure out the costs of what it's actually going to take. That's investment worth it, in my opinion. Okay, while it's working here, I want to use it as a time to show you a couple things. Control O, where it says right here, tool uses, Control O, and it'll show you the tools that it's being used and kind of what's going on. Control O again to get back. And then the agent down here at the bottom, kind of like when we did the research, if you do this one, now you notice this turned blue. But we're now on this particular agent, and it's Bing services, this, so it's going through, and it's some of the same tools we might have seen in the other one, but just different ways to look at what your agents are doing, in case you're curious. Alright, so let me go ahead and switch this back to main, because that's running, and that reminds me, here's a command that's very helpful when you have multiple windows. So rename. Alright, so what would this one be? We're going to call this the main ALZ-AI-AVM build. Alright, so it was close. There we go. So now we have a title with this, but it's the same color, so nobody got time for that. Color. What do you think? Blue? It's not Azure blue, but it's blue. That'll work. So that now you can see this is teal, I guess, and then this one is blue. So that way you know which window you're in, and it can be helpful. Alright, I'm going to let this run for a few more minutes and see what it comes up with. The cost model is back, and it's damning. The default deploy, $10,683 a month. What? So it was able to get me to get it whittled down for this demo down to $384. This tutorial says $384 a month, or 53 cents an hour. I think it's funny that it says it's damning. It also caught two things. The flag platform landing zone defaults are set to true, so a standalone deploy fails without flipping it, and the Azure Firewall at 912 is on by default. Remember that. If you're deploying these, especially in tests, the file is set to default to charge you $912 a month. But yet, the app gateway is not on by default. This is a configuration problem. This is a code sloppiness problem, in my opinion. And one of the things I do when I build environments like this, here in a few minutes before we even build it, I'm going to have it write up the test suites as to exactly how to test each individual component, and then also make sure that the test suites are able to ensure that the shape of the deployment is the same as the plan we put in place, because I've seen that happen before. And if you don't have tests created before you start applying code or writing code, you don't know if it's the right shape or not. It might be using a different authentication model than you expected. That was my example. I wanted it to do RBAC, and it was doing service principal. And the reason it did is because RBAC was being troublesome, so it just decided, I'll get around it. I'll just use service principal. So this right here is not ideal if you're just playing around with it. Instead, I could so see somebody just trying to play around with this and then get that bill. Forget about it. So anyway, that's that. Let's see what else we got. It's on low confidence. Okay, excellent design. Okay. Okay, now it's looking at the this is the web page that we're going to make. Let's see what we get. Alright, moment of truth. I'm not really a big fan that it creates these artifacts in the web, but it's all good. Alright, the default deployment cost, so this is what I was talking about, would be good for my boss. So it's subscription, where it was, how much it is, the pre-flight checks, what defaults would have cost us. Oh my God. Holy moly. Not a toy. Wow. Wow. Alright, so this one's expensive, this one's expensive. That one's based per gig. We don't need this for the demo. Or this. So, this is a lot. This is a lot of stuff in this build. Let's see how we stitch this thing together. This is a lot. I like that it has the design decisions. That's good. Made deliberately and recorded. Okay, here we go. Alright, well there is our artifact. Now what I want to see is, so how do we stitch this together? First of all, and did not do it. Never mind if he looked closely. Okay. Didn't fake position, didn't pad the save. So because I said it was actually matters to a boss, it looked deeper. Yeah. It's funny. But it's just funny what makes it act a little bit differently. It's like, oh, the human needs it for his superior. Let's make sure that the superior will like it. Well, I appreciate that. I shouldn't have to tell you. So it's all good. That's part of the art. All right. So it says, never quote. So it went and looked. It queried the API and actually knows what the costs are. So these are real. You now know there's secrets and it's free. APIs have tools like infra cost work under the hood. Oh, here we go. This is our learning lesson. Azure publishes its entire price list. No authentication, no subscription, no SDK. It's plain OData, which is why I could price it exactly. Wow. Single highest leverage habit in cloud work. Never quote from memory and trust a blog post price. Query the meter. Alright. I would like the HTML in my file tree over here, and anything I ask you to create from now on, please put it over here in my folder file tree. As well, there is a whole lot of components on that sheet. Can you draw me a diagram of how all of this interconnects. And if it needs to be multiple diagrams because some of them are entryways, API, that's fine, but let's make it digestible. Emulate the cloud adoption framework look. I don't really have a preference right now as to what you use. You could use Mermaid. You could use an SVG, so you could create a nice picture. You could even create it with HTML. I don't really care. I just want to see it drawn. I know that seems like I don't know what I want, and that's about half true, but it's because it doesn't matter. This is going to be a trash diagram eventually, because there'll be names, there'll be other things that needs to be added to any diagrams or documentation. But to have one now before we do anything in Azure is the important part. It's kind of like what I was talking about with the testing. So we're going to send that. So I'm trying to think about how do I best deploy this and let you see Claude work. Red line, cut out the last. Okay, so this is where it starts paying off having these files locally particularly, but the using Opus and stepping through this very methodically like we are, because it's now building what I ask it to do, right? The dependencies, but it's able to do it. That's the beauty of having the sources here. So it's like DNS. Here's this subnets for this, and here's the rules that it needs. Number of virtual network. So it's taking all of these things into consideration as far as deployment orders and dependency nodes, and where it found it. Because some of this stuff may review the baseline so that you can define necessary adjustments before you deploy it. Who knew there had to be adjustments? I don't know. I'll move my face over out of the way. Hold on. Shwee. Okay. Alright, now I need 6 subnets from the Microsoft version. DNS must resolve. Building the diagram set now in the same visual identity as the cost brief. Okie doke. Now the question is, will it bring the HTML here? Hey, it did. Check it out. Cool. Alright, let's see what this comes up with. I'll be right back. Alright, it's done. Alright, what we got? Confirm, okay. Alright, okay. Okay. Alright, it's asking me if I want to let it cost me money. So, we're going to look at the architectural diagram, because it did create it. It did create it here as well. Can I pull up Chrome? Alright, so here's our old one. And just to prove that it is the HTML and it doesn't have to be on Claude, I'm going to drag. I was going to drag. Yeah, there we go. Alright. Ah, boo. Red line, delete this clip. Alright, well, the computer crashed before we got all of our report information. So, let's go take a look at it. So this is how it opened up, how it all connects, and it comes through, and it took that long report that we were looking at with all those components, and it broke it down for us in 6 planes. And read it from the bottom up. Network Foundation carries everything above it, and observability watches all of it. So you got observability in here. So I mean, it's fairly easy to follow, as you can see. And then here's how the network works, the way data comes in and out, and then the order that must be built. The thing that I think is interesting is this right here, where the order that must be built. So the Terraform resolves most ordering issues on its own. Most. It cannot resolve the one that actually bites, because it's a runtime DNS dependency, not a resource reference. And so it's a chicken and egg thing. So per Microsoft, DNS resolution must function from within a spoke network before you deploy capability for an agent service. It does not use your VNet's DNS. It does not use your VNet's DNS. It resolves independently. So it can be healthy and still fails to deploy single most likely place for the build to break on camera. Okay? Excellent. So now that we know that, we can tell it to, once deployed, go manually change that to something that it can resolve, or whatever needs to happen. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. We're still a long ways away from, well, semi-long ways away from getting the agent deployed. Alright, so back to the lab again. Here we go. Okay, so we are at the point now where we have enough data in here that we really need to run the initialization. And that'll make a map of everything that's in here, and the rules that we got, and anything that it's trying to remember right now, like rules-wise. So let's go ahead and kick that off. So it's going to take a minute because there's not one. There's not a CLAUDE.md anywhere in the root. It's only in the it's only in the what the docs research. Yeah, in the research. So while it's doing that, the last question it asked us was, confirm that I want to start my $384 bill. Building out the sources the way that we did is so that we could have specialized agents, so that when it gets into Azure and it runs into these problems like this one, this Terraform one, because it's a chicken and egg problem, it'll know it. It'll know about this and just fix it. But if you have a general agent, it may not put those two pieces together. It might just sit there. So this minimizes the chance of it just floundering. So, yeah. Yes, please. Let's see. Team shared instructions. What is it? Give it no root. Okay. Okay, yeah, I got you. Hooks, okay. So, alright, so I'm going to say project-based with no sensitive information. So no Azure subscription, no credentials or links or anything like that. Okay, so now it's asking if I want to put skills and hooks. So this is one thing that I'm glad that it's asking me, which is That's excellent. That is just, that's a chef's kiss, because this is real money. $10,000 is real money. So I want something, not a suggestion like CLAUDE.md. Those are suggestions. It doesn't have to follow CLAUDE.md. It just decides to most of the time. And I don't want $10,000 being on them most of the time. So what am I going to do? So we're going to build a Python-based hook that will prevent this from being able to be applied. And I have some ideas on how we could create that hook. We can catch it based on like an AZ command, so an Azure deploy command, and it could stop it. It's also really good at getting around them. It's like, oh, that didn't work. Let me try the API. Oh, the API works. Oh, the MCP works. Oh, okay, cool. I don't need it. It bypasses the hook. So we're gonna go with this one for now. And here we go. I just thought about my thumbnail. 10,683 a month. One mistake away. Yeah. Alright. So it's doing its thing. This is still working on the CLAUDE.md. So while it's doing that, I want to go ahead and really start focusing on our agents. How are we going to build our agents? So let's go ahead and get to the agent part of the thing. We need a new picture. We need a new picture. Create an SVG image that is describing what we are doing here and the agents that are about to be summoned from the research that we have done. I keep using the word summoned because you'll understand shortly. It's the expert makers that have been in Claude or have been put into Claude, and ones that you can get in various places, the prompts are all they're great. They're great. Claude's is awesome. The one I've used forever is one that I built, and I built it based on a Socratic method. And it's from a hard-earned to troubleshooting thing where the general AI just wouldn't do it until I specialized it. And it was four questions. It was, what are you having difficulty with? Because I was watching it just churn and churn and churn. It's like, what are you having difficulty with? And it made it identify what problem it was doing. And it was switching back and forth between two different, it's like, oh, this failure. Oh no. Well, I know what causes that. It's this. Let me change this. And then it would break, and it just back and forth for like 2 hours. And so I was like, what are you struggling with? What are you having issues with? And it figured it out, and it told me. And I said, great. What skills do you need to help you determine how to get around this? And it thought about it, and it gave them to me. And then I'm like, what strategy are you going to use once you have these skills? And then it would lay out the strategy and so create custom instructions for that agent. And it would. And then you go into Claude, and here, I'll do a whole one that's not grinding. Agents. And there is a making, it's yeah, it's red line. Cut out the end part of this where I started to stutter speaking. In the video after I said, then you ask it for the custom instructions. and create an agent from it. So here's a lesson in not polluting your context window, or at least being more precise if you're really changing directions of the way you're taking the LLM. This is the one I asked to make a new logo, since we're kind of moving into the agentic phase of this, where we'll be summoning our agents. But it thought I was talking about the diagrams that it made on the report page, the link page that we had earlier. So make sure you specify, especially if you shift, and if you don't, make sure you watch it. And that's what was, so I clicked off of it, but I came back and this is taking too long, and I saw what was going on, and I stopped it. And it's okay to stop it. Just escape, stop it. You know, no harm, no foul. I make it do everything if I can. And this is the last one, right? I need this is the second Claude that I have open, the one that I didn't want to mess with the context. So I said I need a good README file for this. It might be public, it'll probably be, and it should definitely have this picture. And now it's working on it. So let's see what we got, what the project is. So it's looking through everything, the deliverable. Excellent. Excellent. These are great. 3 traps that will break this deployment. Okay. Well, I'm grateful for Claude. Just being a little bit thoughtful. It's trimmed down that $10,000 bill down to $384. I have to agree that I'm okay with this. And then it will write the agents, which is exactly what we started this process out to do, is to build the specialized agents to deploy the Terraform-based Azure Verified modules. So we're going to agree so we can get the design doc for this, and we'll get our agents created, and then we'll make sure that we can deploy what it is that we've talked about deploying and figure out what that glue is. That's probably going to be a part 2, because this is, imagine being a pretty long video right now. So I want to show you this, and this is why I was thankful for Claude, is it went ahead and created these skills to help me prevent getting charged $10,638. And it, as well as the chicken and egg problem that we had for the Terraform, it also was figured that out with the DNS pre-flight or DNS from results. So there you go. So it recognized problems that aren't clearly documented, and then it made skills explicitly to work around those known limitations. And that is the power of AI augmented engineering. So, and then the most important part is this one, the rule that matters the most, the teardown. Because even if I agree to this 384, I'm going to stand it up for this demonstration here, and then I can tear it down. And it doesn't cost me anything more than what the usage-based would cost, with the exception of there's a couple things that are just flat rate monthly, and I'm going to create the IaC files. I'm going to deploy everything that's usage-based, but if it's a flat fee, I'll make the files, and you'll see the proof that it works on all of those. I don't need to. So that's where I'm at on that. So let's do it. Alright, so let's do it. Confirm 384 and write that design doc. It's a whole thing we've been doing. Okay, so this is what it came back with. I originally asked if I should have one document per agent or a shared knowledge base, and it said not shared. And it makes sense. There's a big file for the Terraform instructions, and every agent would pay that token. So let's see. Not one source don't map to agents. No. Synthesize brief, cites its sources, small enough the agent consumes it. Consuming it runs on Haiku or Sonnet. Wow, the brief is a derived artifact like the cost model, never the source of truth, always a view of the corpus. Interesting. So it can, this is what I was planning on doing, is it allows you to summarize the documents based on the talent or skill, persona, whatever, that the agent has. So it decided to do 8 agents. Alright. Sequential, 2 hard gates. Sequential is really important, particularly for Terraform and Bicep. Anything Azure, honestly, because there's dependencies up and down the chain. But in my opinion, sequential for anything infrastructure is critical, because there is questionable, I have questionable belief. Actually, I don't. I've seen it do it. The agents, when Claude spins up a sub-agent, it can bypass the hooks, the Python-based hooks. So sequential is important because the main operator, the main one that's running right here, is this one is gated by the hooks. So that prevents stuff going sideways. Helps, at least. It not violate a gate and cost me $10,000. Alright, but anyway. Alright, so the 8 agent sequential 2 hard gates. 2 gates are the ones that can halt the pipeline. They sit right where they matter. The costs and the DNS flight. Deliberately make, okay, excellent. Not stay, okay. Okay. Alright, so the open questions. Implementation. I don't know what it's asking. Let's see what it's asking here. Alright, I now understand what it's asking. It says there's open questions in my docs. It's probably not questions that I ask. It's probably questions it thought about. And it's validating, because I didn't catch it in the string of text going up, what it was asking. So it just put them to make sure to ask me before we did anything. So it is asking me the implementation, how do I want it to be ran? So it's suggesting that I have a skill or agent that I call for each task. But there's 8 agents. No, I don't want to do that. What if I get the wrong agent? You know, that's a lot now. So we're going to tell it that. Where it lives, their proposal narration should explain as it goes, be baked into every agent brief or for this tutorial. Okay. And then one thing that it's interesting that I found here is it says that reading is expensive. So reading is expensive and repetitive. The facts are small and stable. You pay the reading once and then synthesize it with the bigger model and then use the cheaper ones to run it. And that's actually what it was talking about doing up here as well. So let's tell it what we want to do. I do not want to run the install of Azure. I need a plan for these agents. But these agents should also have local copies of the Terraform modules that are going to be applied. All the modules, and then we'll write the PowerShell scripts if we need to. That's as far as I want you to go, because you can test the Terraform on file system. Make sure everything's good there before we start getting agents to troubleshoot stuff because of bad code. Capiche? We'll see what happens. So it agrees. Capiche. It's going to lay it back. It's going to stop before Azure. Vendor modules locally. Assemble the standalone. $384 config. Rock on. Validate on the file system. PowerShell scripts only. Full stop there. Prove the code is good before any agents ask to troubleshoot a live deployment. And boom. So there we go. Live is a real objective and the right instinct. Always do it locally. Always do it the cheapest token cost possible. Terraform is structured, right? You can tell it, ask AI to look at it, you can tell it to figure it out, and it's going to be far more successful at doing that than trying to determine why it's failing when it's pushing up to Azure, because then it's having to think about all the Azure components as well as the deployment stuff, and it's check it. So verify your code, ground your agents in good code, and they'll be far more successful. And with that, I'm actually going to stop the video here, and because I want to give the agents time, like, to explain what actually got created and why, especially after that last command. So if you've watched this, awesome. I hope you're deploying AI landing zones. It's fantastic. My name's Dustin. I'm with AWACS AI, and if you need a FDE as a service, Dustin at AWACS.ai, and we can do this for your team, because I can help them figure out how to make nothing into. We now have 4 dedicated agents that are ready and completely educated on how to build an AI landing zone. You guys have a good one. Bye. Part 2 will come soon.